Hey there, Pursuing Freedom friends. Thanks as always for being with us today. I appreciate you tuning in. Got a great show for you today with Kelli Phillips. Kelli is the leader of Kelli Phillips Realty Group in Atlanta, Georgia. She's been in real estate now for over 16 years, and she's done it all. She went from admin assistant to rookie of the year to managing to team building and everything in between. So I'm not going to waste any more words here and just kind of let Kelli tell us her story from the beginning. So Kelli, thanks for being here with us today.
You are welcome. Thanks for having me, Erin. I'm excited.
Me too. So if you wouldn't mind, we always start from the beginning. Just share your story with our listeners and we'll kind of dive right in.
Okay. I was new to real estate in 2003. So I've been in about 16 years and I started my story is the Lord just sort of led me to it. My best friend had moved to a new community and her neighbors were a mother-daughter team, a very successful mother-daughter team. They needed somebody to do some marketing for them, postcards. And I had been in sales and marketing for many years. I had been staying home with 3 boys for a couple of years. And I said, I can do that 10 hours a week. No big deal. Baby's going to pre-K. So I did, and fast forward 3 months in, and I was a full-time admin assistant to them as they were starting to grow a team, and then left them about 6 months in to get my own license. And then from there, just kind of went on. I fell in love with it.
Well, so take us back a little bit. So what did it look like to go from, first of all, I think it's a big deal that you made the transition from stay-at-home mom into real estate, because I know a lot of people that are trying to navigate that transition, and it's hard because you just don't know where to begin when you've removed yourself from the workforce. And then to get into an industry that's as demanding as this one, what did that journey look like for you?
It was hard, but I say stay-at-home mom. This was pre-internet, so we have to go back to before there was even an internet. I was home. I left the corporate world when my second son was born and was stay-at-home mom, but I was running a direct sales business. Started with Discovery Toys, then went to an old company, which I don't know if you know, in Denver, called Southern Living at Home, and ran a team within that. So I was always doing something within sales. That's what I did before. So I was running a team and had some consultants on my team in 3 different states. So I was leading and growing and managing that. And then just sort of fell into real estate, as I said. So I wasn't technically a full stay-at-home mom. I was always doing something to coach and lead and train and mentor other women. So it just sort of naturally fell into the house perspective. And I, like I said, I fell in love with it. We had tried to sell our house when we thought my husband was moving, and ended up he didn't make that move to that job, so we stayed put here in Atlanta. And when we tried that, it was really fascinating to me because we'd never sold a house. It'd been our first house. Person comes in and it's like, well, I was going to do that. I know how to talk to people. I know how to network. So it was fascinating to me to understand what real estate was about when I was first trying to be a seller. And then when I kind of fell into the admin role, it's just like the lights all came on and I thought, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is amazing.
Well, here's an interesting question I'm curious about is, knowing that you were Rookie of the Year back, I'm assuming around that 2004 timeframe, which is a different time. And like you said, basically pre-internet, pre-video, pre-all kinds of things. What is the same and what's different in your business then versus today? And how are you training your new team members? Because we're going to dig into this a little bit, but I know you've got some new realtors that have joined your team. So how are things the same and how are things different in terms of growing a business from the ground up and having that level of instant success?
I always feel like instant success. I don't know about that. You're building on sales skills. I think you're always going back to the basics. And you hear that, but go back to the basics. I mean, the phone still works. We look at here's your phone. And what is that? It's not just a computer. It is a phone. People aren't answering it as much, or all the new call blockers that are there. But to me, the basics don't change. And that's reaching out to people. Whether we do it in different ways now because of DMs and private messages and Facebook and Instagram and all, it all boils back down to conversations. I think what's changed now is how we get to that conversation. It may have been before that it was old school, pick up the phone because people answered them and they probably had one attached to a cord on the wall. Mm-hmm. But it's all about conversations. What I tell the gals on my team now is conversations create closings. So the more conversations that you can have, the better. Conversations about real estate or just connecting with people, and then that can lead to a real estate conversation. So that hasn't changed, I think, from 2003 to now is still being in conversation and being yourself. And people will want to do business if they know you, they like you, they trust you. They're going to want to do business with you.
I'm just giggling over here because I always tell people, pick up the dang phone.
Yes. Oh
Pick
my
up the phone.
gosh. Yes, the new iPhone. I was at a conference the other day and they were talking about the new iPhone has some new blockers on it to be able to silence it. And a couple of the realtors like, yes, like, no, you don't want these blockers. You want to call people and have a conversation. And they were pretty excited. There was a blocker on there. It was like, no, we cannot talk to people.
Yeah, no, we just did an experiment about it earlier this year where we were like, let's see what happens if we try the age-old system of just pick up the dang phone, right? And it was like, we're going to do a certain number of calls every day, every week, every month. And we literally watched the closings go from 3 in a month to 9 in a month, 12 in a month to 17. I mean, it is scientific. It's not rocket science, but it's science.
So you were just calling cold leads or warm leads? What were you doing?
Calling past clients and saying, we miss you and we're sorry for being out of touch and how are you? And then finding out what's going on in their lives and then showing up in some way to provide value, right? So,
well, I think what you just said, and we'll kind of go off on, I guess, on a different tangent. That's what it is. It's that fear. And I'm there with everybody is the past clients from 8 years ago, from 9 years ago, who maybe you did lose touch with. How do you say, I'm sorry, I just lost touch? And it's those words, but we're scared to call and say them.
Yep.
And I think that's it. So yeah, that's exactly what it becomes, is reconnecting. They already liked you and trusted you once. So start there.
Yeah, exactly. And also at the end of the day, I mean, what's the worst case scenario? You find out the truth. They moved on. Well,
Yep.
better to know it than to wonder. So question for you, what does it look like for you today to win the day? And how are you training your teammates to win the day or win the week? Or what does that look like in terms of systems and activities and things like that?
Well, Win the Day is exactly the sheet that we work off of. And it's based on a concept you've probably heard before too, called revenue generating activities. It's the 80-20 rule. You can say, you can be busy all day long and you can go to the end of your day, goes, oh my gosh, I'm so busy, I'm overwhelmed. But were you productive? Were you doing those tasks that bring you business? And I think so many times we're taking care of contract to close, we're working on showing houses, we're doing a lot of things, but they're not necessarily the productive activities that bring us business. So we worked on this year creating something called a Win the Day sheet that is truly what are those activities that bring you business, to create those conversations. How do I go about creating those conversations and prioritizing the new leads over the existing deals that you're working right now? And that's tough because so many times, we live in this cyclical business in real estate. It's I'm busy, 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 and I've got closings and I've got clients in the car, what's happening? And I don't have time to generate a market. So then your business goes down and then you're starting to market and then it goes back up. So how do we try and make that more level? And I think that comes, the consistency is by every day doing those tasks that bring you business, regardless of how crazy you are with contract to close or other things. How do you keep generating new business?
And what does that look like in today's day and age for you? Is that just the traditional sales strategies of picking up the darn phone, or does it also involve building your brand online and doing video and all these other things, or is it simply communication directly with other human beings and having conversations?
It's a little bit of both. I think communication today has taken on a different animal because of the internet, because of social media. A lot of people say social media is the internet, but I think it's changed. It's not always picking up the phone because they're not answering it, or it's texting a new number. If you even get a number anymore, a lot of our leads we don't have a phone number for. We might have an email. So it's creating the conversation in another way. Sometimes it's through DMs on Instagram, or it's through private messages on Facebook. It's other ways that we work to generate the leads, but also then communicate with them. I've got a colleague, I do a lot of networking with agents around the country, and I have a colleague that's in the New England area. He's closed 10 deals this year strictly off of Instagram. And one of them, actually a buyer's agent, showed the property for him, or showing agent, I guess is what he called it. And they met at the closing table. All of their communications were done via Instagram and via some video communication.
Wow.
So I think we're changing. I don't know that we're the Carvana of real estate where it just shows up, but we've closed several deals this year that we have actually videoed properties for clients who are out of state, obviously with the listing agent permission to say, I'm showing your property via video here, via FaceTime or other apps we use to create that connection in other ways. So yeah, we're doing it in different ways now, but it still boils back down to people do business with who they know, like, and trust. And video to me is a big way that people feel like they know you, even if you've actually never met face to face.
Totally. So do you have a strategy for that in terms of, are you just using video organically when you think of it or remember to do it? Or do you have a plan for when and how and through what mediums you're doing video?
A little bit of both. I'd like to say our content calendar is created for the next 6 months, and it's discipline, and we've got it. But we're working off of a format of what we want it to look like, and then we have some organic things that just happen. I mean, I've got a list of questions that people ask all the time, sitting in my car. So if we're waiting on something, I can pop up my phone and say, "Hey, let's talk about earnest money," and do a video on that to put on the YouTube channel. So there are organic things sometimes that happen. If we're doing a walkthrough with some clients and they're probably comfortable being on video, we may say, "Hey, what did you like about working with our team?" and interview them right there. Some of it is organic, but I think there's also needs to be a plan about what the reason is, the why behind what you're posting. Every time we do a post, we want to know what's the reason for it, who's the audience it's directed to. That helps us with our hashtags, with the organic reach, whether it's a paid post or not. We want to know why behind what we're doing.
So are you doing weekly videos on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, or are you doing daily, or what's your plan?
There's not anything right now that says this is happening daily from a video perspective. From regular post perspective, yes, we're doing those. Video, no. As you're saying that, I'm going, yeah, we need to make sure that's happening, I tend to, like most realtors, we talked about profile types and things like that. I think as realtors, we love to be entrepreneurs, and we don't want anybody going, do this, which is tough because we need to do some of those exact things. But our nature, those of us who are entrepreneurs, is not to be put in a box and told what to do. So there's that fight almost between what you need to do and the other. So for me, video daily, no, there's not one going out daily. Should there be? Yeah, there probably should be.
Oh, well, you got work to do when you get done.
I know. But yeah, I've gotten to where, though, I am more comfortable now. I'll just pick up my phone, throw on some lipstick, pick up my phone, and just do a video on something, hit send. Sometimes it's not going out to the internet. I've gotten more comfortable using some services like BombBomb, other types of things, or even just on my iPhone, connecting with other realtors around the country, whether it's just in your message app. And that's one of the tips that I share with our team is connect even with your colleague on the other side of a transaction or your client and just say, "Hey, I'm here at this house showing it for somebody else. I thought of you." Video does so much more than texting or emailing. You get emotion, you get a smile, you get to be real. If I'm in a ball cap and yoga pants and I've come from Pilates and I don't have makeup on, but yet I need to get a point across that will be better brought forward and understood on video, I'll pop my phone up and send a text video message to a client. And I think that helps share a message much easier sometimes.
Awesome. So I hear you saying we a lot, and I know you are actively growing a team. When it comes to your marketing strategy online and building, social media platforms and whatnot, are you collectively building a brand as a team, or does each individual agent build their own brand under the umbrella? Or you know what I'm saying?
We have our team, Kelli Phillips Realty Group, that is our team. And then the agents that are on our team, they can do video themselves. They work that, but it's primarily under our team brand. And we've got branding guidelines. If one of them did a video the other day on her tennis court talking about the market stats in her neighborhood, we posted that to our team page, and then she's able to share that to her own personal page as well. So we do keep things under the team brand just to keep those guidelines where they are. As individual agents, definitely, I know there's a lot of individual agents that are working to build their brand. For us, what works is keeping it under the team guidelines and what we're able to do. We do have a team business page, and then I have my own personal pages as well that are non-business related.
And what does your team look like today in terms of number of agents versus number of support staff and et cetera?
We've got 5 licensed realtors on our team, a couple of this, and also a marketing person, photographer, stager. 2 of our people work with us. We also have marketing people that work with us as well. We've got one virtual marketing person, contract to close person also works with us in an admin role, as well as a realtor as well. So we've got support staff to take care of us from listings, from marketing and branding, as well as contract to close.
And then is that your responsibility to handle the recruitment, training, and supplying of this support to your agents?
Yes, yes, which is why I like wine.
Touche.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we do. There's a lot of time involved in managing. One of my goals as we head into 2020 and looking at planning that is stepping out of production primarily with buyers because of the time that that takes, so that I can help train and manage those systems. We brought on another marketing person to join us just in the last 60 days to take off the managing of those, so that I'm not always the one proofing the ads, the one writing the copy. And she's done a phenomenal job to come in, and we're kind of doing those side by side right now, so that she's able to go, yeah, this is the look we're wanting. This is the sound we want. And it's been amazing for me to take off that level of responsibility of overseeing that marketer. So she's hopped into a great role for me to actually have more time for the balance that we're all searching
I
for.
was going to say, that sounds like a novelty. More time. Good for
Definitely.
you.
More time to create more systems. That's actually what it's probably become, is implementing the systems and processes a little more.
I love it. Well, I have a question for you. In case someone's listening and they're a solo agent, either thinking of joining a team or starting a team, what is it about? Because you've done it all. So what was it that drew you into starting your own team? And what do you think are the benefits of being part of a team versus being a solo agent?
I think there's benefits to both. Some people work well on teams. Some people choose to not be part of a team. I don't think there's a right or a wrong as an answer. It depends on the individual. A lot of teams are formed in different ways. For me, I can tell you my story and what worked for us. I've seen teams in running a Keller Williams office for many years and coaching and training agents and helping them to start teams and write those contracts. I saw a lot of different models. What I chose to do when I knew I wanted to start one was to become more specialized. I knew I couldn't be in 5 places at the same time, and I wanted to create a space where people could work in their lane, that they knew what they were good at. One of the things that we've got buyer's agents on our team. That's great. If I can't show a property, one of them can. They can cover for each other. We've got listing specialists. For our team, I like allowing them to do both. It's not that they are pigeonholed, that I'm a buyer's agent and this is all I do. Our buyer's agents are able to carry listings. I want them to know that skill set as well. And they do well to be a lead listing agent. So for us, and what works for our team is they're able to do both. And I've seen all forms succeed. Solo agents, I think, can do a fabulous job. It just gets down to time. Can you service everybody? One of the coaches and speakers I listened to gave the analogy of going to a doctor's office, and you've got the person who answers the phone when you make the appointment, the person who greets you, the person who does your insurance billing, the nurse who takes your vitals, and then the doctor comes. Everybody has a role in the process to get you healthy or to have that appointment. And I think that's kind of how we need to look at real estate. It's not that, I'm the doctor coming in at the final answer, but it's everybody offers something to the transaction. So for the seller or the buyer, I believe having a team behind you gives you someone who understands that specific role day in and day out. Contract to close can take a lot of time, as we all know. And someone who does contract to close most of their day could probably become more efficient at some of the duties that we might do.
Interesting. Okay. So something we were talking about, and you kind of alluded to it just now, we were talking about this before we recorded as well, is the idea of leveraging strengths of individuals. And one of the interesting things from this podcast that I wasn't expecting is just simply the diversity of human beings that have found success and happiness in this business, and the idea that as soon as you know what your gifts are and you can leverage those, you can find more flow in your business and your life. And I'm just curious now, as a team leader with 5 individual agents on your team with different personalities, how do you coach them to their strengths versus what is simply black and white minimum standard to find success in this business, right? Like, at what point do you say, okay, you can tweak this to match your personality, but I expect at very minimum this from you?
let me make sure I got the question right. In coaching someone to their strengths versus what the standards are, is that kind of what we're
Yeah,
talking
like we talked about before we were recording, how when you're talking about certain agents on your team, that when it comes to winning the day, it's going to look different based on where they are in their life, what their gifts are, what their personality might be. And so it's interesting because I agree with that, but I also feel like we have to find some consistency and some systems, some minimum standards that everybody sort of needs to
right?
follow, and then do it in a way that feels really good and natural and authentic to you and your actual gifts and personality.
Exactly. We have some agents on our team who are more natural networkers. The person who never meets a stranger will talk to five people in the checkout line at the grocery store. And then we have some that are more introverts and don't necessarily want to reach out and talk to a stranger. Each can be a successful realtor. And that's whether you're a solo agent or part of a team, the same tasks apply. Lead generation, getting more clients, more people that know you today that didn't know you yesterday and think of you with real estate, your business is going to grow. So how do we meet more people? I think our strengths are different. And in talking and coaching with the gals on our team, one may want to do door knocking. The other may want to call for sale by owners or expireds, or one may want to network and start a BNI group. So we've got different gifts that they bring to the table, and how do they go about doing it? So in coaching with each one of them, I really just ask a lot of questions as to, do they like talking to people on the phone? Most of them say no, quite honestly. But what about door knocking? What about open houses? How do we create those new opportunities to talk about real estate with people who didn't know you yesterday? And finding new ways to do that that meet what they like to do.
Awesome. I love that. And I guess one question I have for you as well is that as you've sort of played a part in all different kinds of roles in this industry and your journey, and as you've made that transition from management to selling again to leading, what kind of mentoring and coaching have you received in order to help yourself on your own journey? Because I believe that you have to develop into the kind of person that can lead. You don't just wake up one day and because you're awesome at selling real estate, you're awesome at managing people. I learned that the hard way.
Oh, yeah, totally different jobs. Yeah.
So have you had mentoring for your own transitions in your career along the way, or do you just seek it out organically, or have you had coaches, or what does it look like for you?
I have a coach now. I've been with my coach 3 years, and she's phenomenal. She pushes me based on my goals, which is how I like to coach too, is tell me what you want to be doing, and then I'm going to hold you accountable to it. But I need to know what you want to do. So for me, coaching is important, whether I was the coach when I ran an office before or needing a coach. And I think that's important. Every good athlete, business person is going to seek mentorship, I believe. You're going to learn. Success is going to leave clues. So why not talk to and learn from the people who've already been there and done that? And I think that you can do that even outside of your industry, because a lot of things do parallel across different industries, whether you're active in church world, you're active in business world, you're active in other community civic organizations. So many things we can learn about leading people, because people are people, whether they're realtors or doctors or dentists or direct sales people. We're all human, and we all have some of the same characteristics and flaws and features, and that's just part of it. So we work hard to learn more, and I'm always encouraging my team to get more education. Myself, we just came back from a conference last week with a company that we do a lot of our marketing and training with, and I was able to take all five of us to Nashville for this conference. And it was interesting to me to be sitting there and watching them. Two of them had never been to any kind of training conference in our industry before, and it was wonderful. So I've learned, for me now, it takes a different role helping others grow and feeling empowered seeing them get excited. So it's kind of fun right now to be at this space that I'm in.
I love that. I love the fact that we're exposed to so much opportunity for personal and professional development in this industry. And, I think we take that for granted because a lot of people jump ship to become an entrepreneur and 100% commission in all kinds of industries, right? Without ever having the business coaching, training, mindset, all the things that I feel like we have easy access to in our industry and that are kind of, pushed in our face to some degree. And so I do think it's a blessing, and how awesome for you to be able to take your team and give them that opportunity. That's so cool. So one thing that you had mentioned to me is that I think that you said your mantra was action over perfection. Is that right?
Yes, I did that last year. The start of the year, I think about what do I want to focus on? What is it going to be? And last year's was action over perfection. If you've done disc profiling at all, I'm definitely high D, high I, but I like to get things right. And fear stops us from doing video, like a lot we've talked about. Like, I don't like how I look, I don't like how I sound, and we don't want to take action because we want it to be perfect. Well, I'll do that when it's perfect. I'll do the video when I know all my numbers just right, or when I know what's happening. Then I'll do that. And as I talked with my coach a lot, I realized that's what I was saying. Well, I'll get to that. I'll get to that. I'll do that when I can figure this out. And I had to get over myself and say, you know what, just do it. So it was action over perfection, and just popping out an iPhone and recording a video and making it happen. And that was a big change for me. And I think it just comes from, honestly, fear and getting over that. And I still do some days over certain things. I think we all do because we're human.
So was that your 2018 mantra or your 2019?
I carried it over partially to 2019. And then what I did for 2019 with my team, we created a word that was an acronym. And so each one of them created a word, and I did a little bracelet for them for their word for the year that was something that they needed. So they all came up with different words. So mine for this year was joyful. And so there's an acronym behind that of what I want to see. And each day, I follow Brendan Bouchard, if you know him, and his daily journaling. So at the end of every day, when I'm going over my day, I look at my word for joyful and I ask myself the acronym questions. Was I joyful today? And with J is for me is jump out of bed. Am I getting up earlier, starting my day? So that's my joyful question is my J. Did you jump out of bed? And some days, yeah, I was up by 6 a.m. Other days, you know what? Maybe I was in bed till 7. So I put a little X instead of a check mark. But it's creating those mindsets every day, because I think it's your daily decisions that will help you win the day, to win the week, to win the month, to have a good year. And some days are better than others. You just kind of have to look at it as how they impact each other to win the day, the week, the month, the year.
I love that. That's awesome. I do something similar with 3 words every year.
Yeah.
And those words, I use them as an anchor to remind myself if I'm veering off course. And so in 2019, it was focus, inspire, and pause.
Oh, I like those. Like pause.
Well, pause is a hard one. And so if you're a lot of our listeners are probably pretty A-type, and we get up and we instantly hop on the hamster wheel and just go through the day. Mm-hmm. And so, when there was opportunity to go for a mountain bike ride or to go skiing or whatever the case was, and my default would be like, no, I have too much going on. And then it's like, no, wait, pause is one of my words. So I need to honor that and pause and do something for my soul. And then you bring a better version of yourself forward to the universe anyway. So it's a good thing. But I think I like your take on it. And so is the word joyful, is that an acronym? Every letter is something?
It is. For me, joyful was this year. I'm not sure what we're going to do for 2020. I like your 3 words, though. That may be a good one to do. I may have to steal pause for my 2020, because I think that's for me, it's saying yes. But there's a great book by Lisa Turkhurst called The Best Yes. And is it your best yes is the question. We want to say yes, but is that the best? Is the best time for you? Is it the best for you right now? And it may not be, because I think sometimes I'm like, I want to do that. I want to do that. And there's so many things we want to do. We lose sight of what's most important right now.
And have you ever heard that when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else?
True. Yeah. And most of the time you're saying yes to a work thing for me, and you're saying no to family.
100%. We just talked about this at a conference where somebody put time blocks in her calendar, and the time block was that from 4 to 6 p.m. she's with her kids and her husband. And so it says time with kids on her calendar. Mm-hmm. So then when somebody says, can I look at property? And she goes to her calendar, she actually sees the word kids, and she feels like if she says yes to showing property, she's saying no to kids. And she's like, how could I do that? Because it's physically on the calendar. Mm-hmm. And I think that's interesting, as, we could go off on a whole nother hour, I'm sure, on boundaries, time blocking and all that, but we don't have time for that. So
we don't have time for that. Yeah. But it's setting a calendar and making things a priority. I'll tell you a real quick funny. We have a boat that we like to go out on, and we've not physically written the name on the boat, but my husband and I give it 2 different names, which is why we can't do it. My name for the boat is An Appointment. So I can say I'm on an appointment.
That's amazing.
But yeah, it is. It's finding time in your calendar because it's, if it's not on your schedule, it doesn't exist. And it's just being fair to what's on there.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you for sharing that book recommendation as well. Any last piece of advice you'd like to share with our listeners? Any takeaways that you've had in your years of wisdom that you can impart here with us today?
Oh, wow. Here's your wisdom to impart. I would say just don't be afraid to ask for help from the agents that surround you and from your lenders. Those relationships that you make in the community that I think that surrounds you as a realtor, as mortgage professionals, those relationships are paramount to your success. It's not just your clients, it's the community. Because so many people want to see you succeed, and ask for help, ask for learning, and don't just do the basics. For us, we're always wanting to do better than we did before. And that helps you to learn from others around you that have gone before.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for being on the show today,
Welcome.
Kelli.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Oh my gosh, I really appreciate you. And I feel like we could go on for hours, but we've got to honor your time and the time of our listeners here. So to all my Pursuing Freedom friends, thanks as always for being here. I love and appreciate you. And I appreciate you continually sharing this with your friends and helping to get this content found. And if you have time, please go ahead and leave a review on YouTube or iTunes or wherever you're consuming the content, because those reviews help us attract these amazing guests like Kelli. So as always, appreciate you. Have an awesome day.
Thanks, Erin.